Hello everybody, Network Wizkid here, and in today's video we're going to take a look at how to install virtual devices using Oracle VMware Virtualbox, or Virtualbox for short. Now this video assumes that you have no prior knowledge to using Virtualbox or setting up virtual instances. So what we're going to do first is we need to make sure we have Oracle VirtualBox downloaded and installed. Once it's installed and running, you will see a screen such as the one presented now. And when you want to run virtual images or virtual devices, you need images in order to install onto the virtual devices. So as you can see here down the left hand side, I have multiple different virtual devices here, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go through the process of actually creating a new virtual instance, and I'm going to use CentOS as my operating system, so that's going to be my new virtual device. So whatever operating system you would like to run virtually, do make sure you have it downloaded, whether that's Windows 7, Windows 10 or any of the Linux distributions. You will need it downloaded in order to proceed with these following steps. So first of all, we need to click New, and for this demo I'm just going to put CentOS, and I'll leave that as that because CentOS is a Red Hat distribution. So we'll just select Next. This is where the virtual machines and the files for the virtual machine is going to be stored. So if you prefer it to be stored in a different place, you can modify that if you want. If not, proceed with Next. I don't recommend using expert mode if you have no prior knowledge of the application and installing virtual machines. So we'll click Next, and just for the purpose of this demonstration we're just going to select 4 gig or 4096 megabytes, and then we'll click Next. Now what we need to do is we need to create an hard disk for the virtual device. So depending on the operating system that you're installing, this will vary. What I will do, and based on the selection of operating system at the very start, it will give you a recommendation here. You can change that. I'll just go ahead now and press create. Now you can select the hard disk file type. I recommend leaving this as the VirtualBox disk image. Click Next, and then storage on the physical drive. So basically what this is you're taking virtual machines take up storage on the physical host that VirtualBox is running. So what we need to do is we can either dynamically allocate or fix size. So dynamically allocating will only use space on your local physical hard disk as it fills up. So in other words, if you allocate say 20 gig of hard disk space, but the virtual device doesn't straight away use 20 gig, it won't take up all that space. Fixed size on the other hand, if you say did have 20 gig, it would use 20 gig straight away. It basically take that away from your physical device and allocate that to the virtual image. What we're going to do is we're just going to press Next. We'll leave it as dynamically allocated. Again, you can select the location where you want the file location to be stored, and also this is where you get to change the virtual disk size. For this demonstration I'm going to leave it as 8 gig. And that's it. So you now have the shell of your virtual device installed. Now what we need to do before we can run this is there's a few settings we need to modify, and we're not going to go through all these in detail. I'm just going to basically touch on the steps required in order to install the operating system. So now if we was just to go ahead and press start, we should get an error telling us that we can't run anything because there's no operating system that's been found. So you can see here that you can select the startup disk, or the other way to do it, because it won't start without it. So I'll just click off that for now. And you can see now fatal, no bootable media found, system halted. So that's because we need the virtual or we need the operating system file. So that's normally in the form of a ISO image. So what we'll do is we'll just cancel this for now, and we'll power off the machine because we want to make changes to it. And then we'll go to settings, and then we go to storage, and under the controller IDE we click on the icon and the text that says empty, and then what we do is we go across to the right, and then we need to select now our disk file. So what we'll do is I've got mine there actually already. If you need to search depending on the location of your file, you can do so by selecting these options, but what I will do is I'll just select CentOS 7, and you can see it's an ISO file. So we can see that it's an image, we can see the size of it, and we can also see the location. So now that's attached, we're pretty much ready to go. But before we do that, let's just have a quick look at the other settings. So under general, we can change the name, we can change the system type, but we don't really need to do that unless you've made a mistake when you created the virtual platform. Under advanced, you have snapshots folder, so if you want to save a snapshot of that device at any point in time, that's where the snapshots will be saved. Description of the device if you wanted to give one, and you can enable disk encryption if you wanted to as well. So that essentially encrypts the virtual disk that's allocated to that device. If we click on system, we can see pretty much the initial setting that we set when we were configuring the machine. So you can see that we've got RAM set to 4 gig or 4096 megabytes. We can see the boot order, so this is essentially what the device will go through in order to boot. In our case, we can turn off floppy because we haven't got a floppy, and we'll leave the other two on, because essentially we're going to pick up the optical disk first. We're going to install from the optical disk the virtual drive, and then we will detach that, and then it should boot from the hard disk. But leaving them two selected should be fine. We have a few options here which I'm not going to discuss if it's your first time looking at this. We may do subsequent videos where we focus a little bit more on the different settings within this environment. Or you can also go to the Virtualbox website and look at the documentation. Processor or CPU, we have one CPU assigned to this device. Again, depending on the operating system you are running, you may want to change that. However, for this demo, we'll leave it as this. Got hardware acceleration. Next one is display, so we can change the display settings from anything from the video memory, graphics controller, remote display, recording. Storage is what we've just looked at. Audio, you can choose to enable audio for the virtual host. Networking, this is probably one that you will spend some time on. We're not going to touch on the different settings today, but you can see at the top tabs we have 4 different adapter types, so we can have 4 different NICs or network adapters if you like. By default, one's enabled, the other 3 are disabled. As you can see, you can enable them there, and then we've got attached to NAT. So that's by default. We can change to bridge adapter, internal network, host only. There's a few different settings here, but we're not going to mess about with these today. We'll leave it as network address translation. So essentially what this is you should be able to pick up a dynamic IP address, and you should be able to then from the virtual machine browse to the internet, providing everything set up properly. Again, we're not going to touch on this in detail today. Serial ports, we're not going to enable these. By default are disabled. USB is enabled by default, but I'll just go ahead and remove that because we don't need that. Shared folders, so what you can do is you can share folders from your physical host where VirtualBox is running to your virtual host. And then you got a few settings on the user interface and stuff here. So we'll just go ahead now and press OK with that. And now we should be able to power up, and we should be able to get the boot process complete to a point where we can actually install CentOS. You'll notice this time we didn't get the error, or we didn't get fatal no bootable disk, and now you can see that we're booting from the virtual disk, and now we can install CentOS. So in this case we just go through now and we would install CentOS. Let's just click back on that. If you do lose access to the device, you can just go back to it, or if you do lose this screen, sorry, you can just go back by clicking on the virtual disk and then clicking on show at the top there, and that's all. So now you can see CentOS in my case is installing, and I should now be able to follow through that process, and I will have a virtual operating system CentOS running in my virtual environment once that's installed. And that's all. I hope you found this useful. Please like, comment and subscribe, and if you would like to stay up to date with more videos, please hit the notification bell. Thank you. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel simply by pressing subscribe. And if you want to stay up to date with the latest videos that I upload, then please go ahead and press the notifications bell, and you will be notified every time I upload a new video.